can you really check your history and yourself?
Stop playing politics with my Punanny. Stop playing politics with my Punanny. Hey, 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 Republicans. I see you called on your fellow man. All dicks and no nuts. Then you rush to call me a slut. I'm standing up for what is mine. Call me the rib, but I'm really the spine of this whole great nation. Ain't gonna put me back on the plantation. No, stop playing politics with my Punanny.
Hey, greetings everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Punanny Politixxx. I am your host, Shelley Nicole, and I am excited to be here with you for another episode. I cannot believe that it's been 2 weeks, and what a 2 weeks it has been. So I'm just gonna get right into it because the first question I have about these 2 weeks is, what the hell happened? Like, seriously, what the hell happened? These last 2 weeks have been like, I mean, really, like, when they say like things oh yeah. So when I last left you, it was the DNC. So, okay. Oh, before I get into that, let me just say, I'm in sort of like a cussing mood. I'm going to try not to cuss, but like the things that have been happening over the last couple of weeks, they're sort of cuss worthy. But I'm going to do my best. Okay, so, and I have my notes because a girl needs notes because a girl doesn't have a teleprompter. You know what I'm saying? So what the hell happened over the last 2 weeks? Okay, so when I left you, it was the DNC. The DNC happened. So they nominated Kamala Harris as the first African-American woman to be nominated as vice president for a major party. That happened. Okay. And, that was all good. It was like, we're feeling the weight, we got to get out there. And then Live Fest 2020 happened. And you know what Live Fest 2020 is. Yes, it is also known as the RNC. And with it, it brought a trail of tears and a trail of Uncle Tom's. And I'm not saying that if you're a Black Republican, that you are a tool of the man. But what I am saying is, if you're a Black Republican and you follow 45, you'll probably be going the way of Herman Cain. So, like, just do that math, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Because it was just a hot mess. And I didn't even really watch it. I just, I get my little snippets from The Daily Show. Let me just be real, because I couldn't watch that mess. So what else happened over the last 2 weeks? Well, we know that our brother Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back over these last 2 weeks. And then these fools had the unmitigated gall, yes, I said unmitigated gall, to handcuff the brother to his hospital bed after you've paralyzed him. Like, what? He's going to get up and go somewhere? So, like, that's the type of, that's what I'm saying. It's a cuss night. Like, that's the type of stuff that makes you want to cuss and really go off. But, yeah. And then, right on top of that, in this crazy town of Kenosha, then you got this white boy coming along in the name of trying to, like, I don't know, protect something. I don't know. And then out here shooting protesters. And then these fools give him water. Like, it's like Dylan Roof all over again, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, it's that cuss feeling. Not even feeling, cussing has happened. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying not to do it right here on the show, but cussing has happened. So on an up note, I guess, or on another note, the WNBA, who's always on point, everybody's looking at the NBA like, oh, the NBA shut down. But the WNBA, like, them sisters, they've been on point, like, since they resumed play. They've been, shouting out Breonna Taylor. They came with the Jacob Blake shirts with the 7 bullets on the back. Look, these sisters are not playing. They're not playing. But the WNBA and the NBA shut it down in light of all the stuff that was happening in Kenosha. I mean, but the MLB did too. When MLB shut it down, I was like, oh, okay, something is really going on. But meaning in terms of like shift in the universe. But MLB shut it down, NBA shut it down, WNBA shut it down. Because these things are just distractions. Like, I know, we have our basketball lovers, and I'm a basketball lover. I can't even front, but it is a distraction from the things that really need to be happening and being taken care of right now. So kudos to my brothers and sisters who shut it down, at least for a little while. I wish they would just shut it down for the rest of 2020. But, when I own a franchise, I'll make the rules anyway. So that happened. And then, like, as if the last 2 weeks wasn't enough, like as if it wasn't like enough, then our brother, our king, the Black Panther, Black excellence, just pillar of Black excellence, Chadwick Boseman, passes away of colon cancer. And I'm like, man, like I understand why people are always like, how come this happens to these people and not the other people? And but I'm not going to get on to Chadwick right now because I'm going to give Chadwick a minute. But yeah, that happened. And then if that wasn't enough to like, get you drinking some wine or some whiskey, we're still in a global pandemic. So, just in case you needed one more thing to add to your list. So it's been quite a couple of weeks and it's been a lot, like it's really been too damn much, to be honest. And, my feelings have been swirling. It's a swirl between like, let me pray myself up and get into a good place to like, let me take myself to the range and get myself ready. like it's all those things. So I'm just, I feel you. I'm with you. Let us hold each other up in these times because, you think, oh, it's just going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be moon to moon, right? New to full, because we're at the full moon tonight. A lot has happened. So we're here. We're back for the second episode of Punanny Politixxx. I'm very excited. I'm just going to say again, I'm just going to state, I don't know how to say it's my mission, but why I started one more time. And I started this to amplify the voices of Black women and also to hold up the spirit, the energy, the memory of our fallen sisters who have been killed or irreparably harmed by state violence, misogyny, patriarchy, capitalism, all those things. And that's what I'm here for. But I also want you to understand and I'm going to say this just, just because I'm here for my sisters doesn't mean I'm never going to talk about my brothers. Because you see, I just did that, right? We're here about having nuanced conversation, right? Nuanced conversation. I don't know. It feels like it's a lost art. Like people start to do, nuancy things and you get canceled and things. But I'm just saying that all the things will happen here that feel good to me. So we will see, of course, I will be amplifying my sisters. They will be front and center. That's what we are here to do. But you will also hear from and see allies. You will also hear from, or you will also hear about and maybe hear me speaking to and maybe sometimes reading my brothers. But it's all in the spirit of healing and all in the spirit of trying to or working toward understanding that, again, just because I'm here for me doesn't mean that I don't care about you. Just because I put myself first doesn't mean that you are suddenly I don't care about you. That's not what this is. So that's all. I just want to make that clear. So let's get into this real quick. I'm just going to run down a few things before we get to our very special guest. I'm really excited about my guest for tonight. Before I get into all that, we're going to hear the voice of, or actually see a video of Jacob Blake's sister, LaTetra Whitman. And I'm sure people have probably seen this video before because it's been around, it was definitely getting around when, after he had been murdered, had been shot. But we're going to see that, because I'm really feeling her on that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the census. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about the census. We're going to get into it. I'm going to do a little bit about our brother Chadwick. And then we're just going to shake that off. You know what I'm saying? We're going to shake it off. And then we're going to get into what's happening with this full moon in Pisces because it's on and popping right now. So here we are with some words from LaTetra Whitman.
I am my brother's keeper. And when you say the name Jacob Blake, make sure you say father. Make sure you say cousin. Make sure you say son. Make sure you say uncle. But most importantly, make sure you say human. Human life. Let it marinate in your mouth, in your minds. A human life. Just like every single one of y'all and everywhere around the world. We're human. And his life matters. So many people have reached out to me telling me they're sorry that this happened to my family. Well, don't be sorry, because this has been happening to my family for a long time. Longer than I can account for. It happened to Emmett Till. Emmett Till is my family. Philando, Mike Brown, Sandra. This has been happening to my family. And I've shared tears for every single one of these people that it's happened to. This is nothing new. I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry. And I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I have been watching police murder people that look like me for years. I'm also a Black History minor. So not only have I been watching it in the 30 years that I've been on this planet, but I've been watching it for years before we were even alive. I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change.
So that was LaTetra Whitman, James, just keep calling him James, Jacob Blake's sister. Just keep that family in prayer, and all of us really, like she said, we're all family, and we've been watching this way too long. So the next thing is about the census. Wow, the census. So like, why are you talking about the census, Shelley? Well, the census is important, and the census is really easy to do, first of all. So we're always talking about political power and things that we want in our communities and what we don't have and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So the census is a way to get those things. It's a way to make sure that you have say and some power over what is happening and coming into, or, you know, what you're missing, basically, if you're not filling out the census. So they moved up the census deadline. They moved it from October 31st to September 31st. Why? I mean, 30th rather. Why? Just because they can. So the census, really simple, really easy. As you can see right there, my2020census.gov, you can go there. It'll literally take you less than 10 minutes to do, I swear. Also, it's not asking you questions about your citizenship. It's really a head count. So get in there and get in there and do the census. That's my PSA for y'all today. Quick, easy. And I'm just going to say a few words, like not a whole lot, because I think that there's been a whole lot said about our brother, Chadwick. I'm just going to say a couple things, like really, as I think, so much has been said. And I know like when people die young and it's challenging and you know, especially because nobody really knew. But I just want to say, you know, the thing that I've been hearing a lot about people say also in his death is, oh my gosh, you know, like you can't waste any time. Like you got to get up, tell people you love them, you know, and I feel like that happens all the time. Like when we, you know, people that we really admire die young or die soon. So I'm just going to say in this time, you know, instead of it being really just talk, you know, just like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to call my people, I'm going to really, you know, like do it. Because if Chadwick didn't do anything else through cancer, he lived his whole life. He got his entire life and gave us our entire life, right? So, you know, honor our brother and live your best life. Live your best life. Live it. That's all I'm going to say about our brother Chad. Look how beautiful that brother is. He is with the ancestors. He is with us. Give thanks for his life and legacy. Okay. Again, a lot, right? Let's shake. Let's shake. Let's shake. Let's shake. Let's shake. Because we are moving forward. We're moving forward, and I'm excited. Yes, that feels better. Woo, let me tell you something. This full moon it's been on me. But I'm excited about this full moon in Pisces. I'm also excited to share the information about the full moon in Pisces before we get into the whole shebang, which was brought to us by my girl, Moist Paula, tonight. I just want to say the full moon is always a time to release, let go, anything you might be holding on to. So again, speaking of our brother Chadwick, if there's somebody out there that you've been sort of like holding on to something with, you know what? It's time to let that go. Time to start fresh. Time to start over. We are in a pandemic, people. It's time to let go of all that stuff. Mother Nature is telling us it's like we have to start over. We have to renew, refresh. So let go of all the muck and guck, and let's get into this full moon in Pisces. Oh, it's Virgo season. Even though the full moon is in Pisces, it is Virgo season. Shout out to my Virgos. Here we go. For tonight's full moon in Pisces, the moon joins Neptune, ruler of that watery realm, inviting us to take a trip to the depths of our soul. Pisces and Neptune symbolize the ocean and call to mind its deepest parts, the collective psyche, the dream realm, alternate realities, and limitless fantasy worlds with no borders. This full moon is heavily laden with feminine energy, as 9 out of 10 heavenly bodies are transiting the zodiac signs to which the feminine principle is ascribed. The earth element features strongly and harmoniously on this lunation. We have a grand trine of planets and earth signs. The stellium of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn, whose heft has been weighing on all of us for the majority of 2020, is tonight gently aspected by the Sun and Moon in Virgo and Uranus in Taurus. Meanwhile, the Moon forms a thrilling and mutually beneficial angle to Uranus, which could manifest as a beautiful surprise. On the shore, imagine Venus in Cancer, minding the tide on a misty beach as Mars needs to work harder than usual to keep a fire crackling. Venus's relationship to Mars tonight is the only point of tension in the sky, but a resolution can be accomplished. All in all, a ceremony is in order, and the moon loves to be acknowledged. If you can't visit a natural body of water, try to take time to soak in a tub by the light of a solitary candle for Mars, perhaps with some rose petals in honor of Venus. As you sit or soak, imagine the world as you would like it to be moving forward, and give thanks for all the good you've already manifested in your life, and the advancements that years ago seemed impossible. The moon appears in her full splendor all over the world tonight. She shines on every kind of person, reminding us, as she does each month, of the point at which we connect with every other soul. This full moon in Pisces reading was brought to you by Moist Paula. No, that's not a new blow-up doll. That's the goddess of the Barry Sax and now your astrological DJ at Zodiac Soundtracks. Welcome to the full moon in Pisces. Yes, welcome to the full moon in Pisces. This full moon has been kicking my butt today. I can't even front. I've been tired all day long. It's taken me a whole lot to get it together to be here tonight, but I'm so glad. And thank you, my girl, Moist Paula. If you are interested in getting a reading from Moist Paula, she's doing astrology readings and curating, music DJ sets for you. You know what I'm saying? So you get music along with your reading. You know what I'm saying? So hit her up at Zodiac Tracks on IG or zodiactracks.com. I think she's on Facebook too. All that information is there. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get into my guests for tonight. Yes. So I'm just going to say right now, one of my guests is running behind, but it's all good. We're going to get started because I believe that everything happens in its time and everything works out. Everything always works out. So I am going to bring to the stage, so to speak, my girl, Nia Witherspoon. Yay! I know I'm corny. I missed the stage. Everybody's coming to the stage, you know. But yes, we're missing our other sister, Linda LaBeija, but I know, you know, what happens out here in these New York streets, and the New York streets still have us. So I'm not gonna worry. I know that she will make it here in due time, and it'll all be fine. But I'm going to embarrass you, Nia. I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. I'm going to read your bio because I like to brag on my people. And I just want people to know, like, just in case they don't know who I'm sitting here talking to, I want them to know who I'm sitting here talking to. So Nia Ostro Witherspoon is a Black queer theater maker, vocalist, MC, composer, and cultural worker creating healing spaces through storytelling, ritual theater, installation, and immersive experience. Witherspoon is a multimedia writer in residence at Fordham University, a Creative Capital awardee, a Jerome New Artist Fellow, and artist in residence at Here Art Center and Bax Brooklyn Arts Exchange, and was a 2017, 2018, 2050 Playwright Directing Fellow at the New York Theater Workshop. Yes. Her works, Messiah, You Mine, The Girl Chronicles, and Priestess of Twerk have been or will be featured by The Shed, Jack, La Mama, Playwrights Realm, Brick, Here, National Black Theater, Bad, Movement Research, Bax, Dixon Place, Painted Bride, 651 Arts, and more, and more, and more. Nia's creative practice, which is also her healing justice practice, draws from African diaspora cosmological systems to support primarily Black folks in moving through trauma and always toward joy and liberation. And I can co-sign all of that and say, welcome, Nia, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's quite a lot to hear all of that. So thanks for making me do that spiritual practice right there.
Yes. You know, it's funny. I know that like sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, you have to read that whole bio. But I'm just like, yes, I had to read your whole bio because we're out here doing this work. You know, we're doing this work and it's important. It's important work. So I just want to tell folks out there how I met Nia, briefly, kind of how I met Nia. I think I first met Nia in yoga class, to be honest, but
Exactly.
yeah. But we first worked together on a piece that she wrote at the time called The Messiah Complex, now just called Messiah. And that was also where I met Linda. And honestly, one of the most transformative productions or pieces of work or healing or rituals that I've been in. And I'd never really been in the theater like that before. Like I've definitely been in lots of theater productions, but this was definitely a brand new way of looking and being inside of the theater. And from that moment, I just said to Nia, like, whatever you're doing at any time, whatever you're writing, you call me. Because that's how much it impacted me and how much I just felt like I needed to be in the circle, you know, just in the circle of whatever that work is, whatever that spirit was moving. Like I just felt like I needed to be there. So I think I'm like, where do I begin? Like, I feel like there's so much. But oh, you know what? This is where I'll begin. Even though I talked about Messiah, I'm going to start with the Girl Chronicles, Chronicle X. And the reason why I'm going to start there is because the moment that we're in right now with George Floyd being murdered in Minneapolis and how we did that piece. So just so you know, Chronicle X is about Philando Castile being murdered in St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So I just want you to talk to me about that, because when that happened, when George Floyd happened, you know, we were also in the midst of doing sort of like a mini Chronicle X with Here. So what was, what rose for you in terms of like that place once again being like the spark of something even greater?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I really resonated so much with with the video that you just, what is the young woman's name from the video?
Latetra Widman. Yeah.
I really resonated so much with what Latetra was saying in the video in terms of like, you know, the combined feelings of tears falling. So grief is there, anger is above it, and above that is just this numbness and this feeling of that then, and those consistently like replacing each other at a really, really fast rate every single day anyway, right? Like this is, right, being alive while Black.
Right.
And when every time some new shit kind of, I'm sorry, are we, every time something new occurs, because I saw you catch yourself earlier, so I was like, noted.
I just do that. I just do that because I will cuss all day long. But go ahead.
Okay, so let me try to keep that, you know, only for when I really need it. But you know, when something, every time this something new occurs, and every time we're forced to experience this repetition, you know, the trauma is unearthed all over again. And it is the trauma of the transatlantic slave trade. Like it is that original sin, you know, it is that original, as a lot of Black studies scholars say, even though I take a bit of issue with this, that ground zero in some ways of what it means to be in diaspora is all reactivated. And this notion of like time being linear and progress being forward, it really, really, I think, brings into question what that looks like and what that can look like for Black folks inside of a system where the only progress that it sees is Black death. So like in that case, like how might we reimagine time and space so that we can remember the moments and the years, really, the thousands of years when we were free. If we are indeed also in the Middle Passage still, we are also still free. And so I don't know. I've been really, really during, because it's this context of quarantine at the same time as, you know, I was out protesting a lot in June. But I've also been in a really introspective place, and in a place where I really feel like it's more important than ever to kind of lean into all of the understandings of life and death that our ancestors have gifted us with, and really have been, on pain of death, we still have them. Like they didn't only die so that we could vote, right? Which is what we hear a lot.
Right.
So that we could have Ifa. They died so that we can have the cosmogram, and that really teaches us about the life cycle, life, death, rebirth, afterlife, unborn, right? Like they died for a lot of things.
Right.
Things that don't even have a placement inside the system that we know. And so I don't know. I think I was already in that place when all this happened. And so I think that's the thing. I think we might have even talked about it, like, yeah, we were doing this, we did this. And I think there's always going to be that feeling until, like, you know, liberation / the next big bang, like that we've done this and that we are living the same moment. But I also have to say that I am really hopeful, and that I do see a different set of imagination inside of this moment for Black liberation, and I do see a culmination. So like at the same time as everything is the same, it's also a spiral, and so it is always building on what happened before. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I have another question for you, but I'm going to bring our sister Linda in. Hey! I'm going to unmute you. Oh, I can't unmute you, it says. because you have chosen to mute yourself.
Oh,
there you
hello.
go.
How you doing? I feel like it's putting me on forever. Well, Nia, I see. You in a while.
Thanks. I'm not.
I know. It's so good to see your face, Linda. Yay. So I'm just going to continue. I just had one more question for Nia, since we were in the groove, but I wanted to bring you into the picture so everybody could see your beautiful face. But so Nia, I think that leads us into what I love most really about your work is the fact that you make sure that it is always a healing ritual. So tell me a little bit how you know, in terms of like you, and then also you know, and since we're talking about the Chronicles, your focus about Black women and state violence, and then also understanding and like really being very clear that like we cannot just tell these stories over and over again and leave people out in the street again with nothing, you know, meaning like hurt and, you know, just out there. So you purposely very, you know, said we're going to make sure that we have a healing ritual. So talk up a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I think that I might echo. Oh, I'm feeding back to myself. That's what's happening.
So yeah, if you have headphones, you can grab them, but you know, otherwise, you know, we'll be all right.
I'm gonna turn it way down because I don't have the ones that fit into the computer. Okay,
no problem.
So I think that, yeah, just as you said, and when we talk about that constant re-traumatization that we just were, it really is a question of how are we going to not only leave folks in the room that come to experience with us, but also what are we cultivating with each other, and how is it that we are able to find spaces of joy and liberation and release and breath inside of work that is oftentimes really grieving work. I often say, like, this is mourning work, this is grieving work, this is death work, and also it is our duty to be inside always of the duality, of the possibility, and of the fact that our bodies here are still alive, and we are here to carry on these stories, and we're here to carry on this struggle. And so I would say that in general, it means working a lot more slowly. And that is, I think sometimes it doesn't fit very well or easily into kind of that normative theater production timeline, which is very driven by a capitalist market, no matter how wonderful or radical the content might be. And so one thing I've been really interested in is like how to, you know, as theater that focuses on Black women and Black queer folks and Black trans folks and gender nonconforming folks, it's already not easy to just get, even with all of those accolades that you read about in my bio, it's already not easy to just get the production itself funded. So like saying, yeah, also we need like an extra, like a month or whatever to like go do ceremony in the woods. That's a really, it's a challenge that I think that theater is at now. Like, and one of the conversations that was had with Brick, and this is also another kind of how do you make it a healing justice space, is always being in conversation with the institutions that we are in community with about this is who you're serving, this is what has to happen inside of your space in order for us to feel safer, because we never actually are safe there. But you know, we've dealt with things that had to do with like bathrooms. I think Messiah was the first show that Brick had to change their bathroom signs for. That was, you know, it's something that stands out to me as something really important. And also I'll say that we are a microcosm of our community. And so inside of our collective spaces as performers and also inside of audience spaces, we reflect back all of the joy and possibility and breath and also harm is possible inside of these spaces. And so really holding that with a lot of care and also like not blame and knowing that stuff is really going to come up, that it's part of the process, and that and holding fast to that belief that we really are engaged in a much larger collective healing act, and that this is a part of our evolving journey, and that we're here to learn with and from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have, you know, you get the feedback, you know, as the writer, and I know as in some of the productions you've been and the actress, the singer, you know, depending on what phase of the production we've been in. But I know personally being a part of these productions, you know, I'm often, you know, after shows, people talk about just really feeling so thankful, you know, to have been able to be in that space because everybody is holding so much outside, you know, and then you come to this theater and you think, you know, because it is that thing too, you think you're going to end up in this sort of Western, you know, like I'm here, you're there, you know, and we're going to talk, da, da, da. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we're all, we're all here together. But it's that sort of surprise for people that is, you know, the best thing that they could have ever, you know, they didn't know they needed it until they got it. So, you know, thank you for that. I just want to jump to Linda since she's here, and then we can all come back together again because I really want to talk about Chronicle Z. But Linda, so I've been embarrassing people. And what I mean is that I'm going to actually read your bio. I mean, I've edited some, but you know, but I want people to know who I know. So Linda LaBeija is a multidisciplinary artist, organizer, and curator from the Bronx, New York. Her work explores the complexities of living as a transgender woman of color, with origins in both Black America and English, Spanish-speaking Caribbean. Linda's transnational experience of living at the intersection of embodied social and national borders hones in on the critiques of hegemonic power, born out of the iconic House of LaBeija in the underground New York Vogue ballroom scene. Linda's pursuit of spoken word infused musical sound has been featured in articles in both Afropunk and The Fader, performing behind voices and writers such as Stacey Ann Chin, Michelle Ndegeocello. She can also be seen in the feature film Pariah, directed by Dee Reese, and in the FX series Pose, produced by Ryan Murphy. In addition to her work as an organizer and curator, she devotes her time to providing services to LGBTQ homeless youth at the Ali Forney Center for the Center as the first arts programming and community outreach coordinator. Welcome to the show, Linda LaBeija.
Thank you. It's so funny, you know, that first half of that bio is actually written by Nia.
What?
And I'm no longer working there as the arts coordinator. So it just feels like such a different world
it's
now.
It's funny because I was looking at that, I was like, I think Linda left that job, but I wasn't sure. And I was like, but you know what? You've done your work.
You know, and that's what matters. Yeah.
Exactly. So welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you here. When I reached out to Nia about talking to her about the Chronicles, and I said in particular I wanted to talk about Chronicle Z because tonight I am dedicating to Islan. She was like, well, we can't really talk about Chronicle Z without Linda. So I was like, all right, bet, because I was actually going to have you on another time. And I was like, well, you know what? Let's have both my sisters on. Let's do it. So, so just so people know also just a little bit, the Chronicles are Chronicle X, Y, and Z. So Chronicle X was about Diamond Reynolds, looking at Philando Castillo's death through the lens of Diamond Reynolds. Chronicle Y, looking at the death of Trayvon Martin through the lens of Rachel Jeantel. Chronicle Z, looking at the death of Islan Nettles through the eyes of Islan Nettles, right? Because it was kind of like you really brought her spirit in to that piece. So talk to me a little bit about Chronicle Z, because that's the one that we have worked on the least, but I was like really excited about that one. So yeah, talk to me about that.
So it was actually Nia who reached out to me about wanting to write this chronicle with me, and we started, digging up some research, and so and Nia could speak more about the tale that's associated with Chronicle Z, but we really focused on the life that was Islan Nettles. And I think we started really zeroing in around the spirit of the life and the energy that continues on because of Islan Nettles, in reference to the trans rights movement. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about, as you said, I guess the tale, as Linda said, that's weaved in, Nia?
Yeah, for sure. So whenever each chronicle is kind of braided with or tied to a tale coming from African diaspora cosmologies. And so Chronicle Z is drawn from a tale from the Ifa corpus of literature, which is of the Yoruba people. And the story, like whenever I'm starting a chronicle, somehow the story that goes with that chronicle finds me. And so, and it always operates as kind of a confirmation of sorts. And so this story, I knew that Chronicle Z work was coming up, but I was like really unsure about where to go. So I just kept remaining open and listening. And so this story, I actually heard a Babalawo, a priest, talking about on a podcast, and I just was washed with this confirmation that this was so clearly the story that we needed. It was really the story that we needed. And so the story goes that it's the story of why parrots repeat instead of say their own thing. And the way that the story goes is that humans, there was a farmer, and the farmer is a human, and the farmer befriended a parrot. And one day the farmer took the farmer's neighbor's buffalo, and he stole it, he chopped it up, he ate it, he did everything with that buffalo. Okay. So the farmer was out of pocket. The parrot was always with the farmer, so the parrot saw what happened. And so basically one day the neighbor came by and was like, "Have you seen my buffalo?" And the farmer was like, "Nah, I have not." And he asked again, "Have you seen my buffalo?" And this time the parrot spoke up and said, "I saw your buffalo, and this is what happened," right? And told the truth. And so after that, what they did to the parrot for telling the truth was the farmer knew that he had to discredit the parrot's veracity, the ability for the parrot to be trusted. And so what happened was he locked the parrot in a cage, and he put a shroud over the cage so that the parrot couldn't see. And then he banged the cage and he put flashes of light so that the parrot would think there was a storm. That was what he wanted to happen, because he knew the court date was the next day. So the next day in court, they said, the parrot was, first of all, really discombobulated because the parrot didn't sleep at all. And second of all, the parrot said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't sleep very well because of the thunder and lightning last night." And so they said, "Oh, there was no thunder and lightning last night. And therefore, anything the parrot would say was not going to be perceived as the truth." And so we see here, and after that, and so the moral of the story is that after that, the parrots would only speak to each other. After that, the parrots did not trust humans and knew that humans could not handle the truth. And they vowed to only speak to each other. And so, and the crazy part about this story, in addition to like the notion of this really, really beautiful being living in its truth, and being persecuted for it, right? So already it's so rich. But then Linda shared with me about the language aspect also. And Linda, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but to me, that was just like the final comment. It was like, oh, okay, like this story really, really is so profoundly able to open up conversations about violence, especially against Black trans women, that we need to this needs to be broadcast.
Right. So what is that language piece? Yeah.
Um, so I think what Nia and I had gotten into when writing the script was, I think, my own discovery in I think how we as folks that are marginalized or just folks of color, I hate saying minorities, but that this is what we do. We find ways to communicate with each other. We find ways to protect one another. And what we end up including in the script was a form of Pig Latin into directly, from the characters, which is something that I know I've experienced using when engaging with sex work. For safety reasons. It's a way that I know many other trans women are able to communicate on the street or, in hotels or in other places. And different folks speak it different ways, right? So we started, playing around with language as far as that's concerned, code language. And yeah, that was really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen it actually done on stage. Yeah, but I think reminds me a lot of what we know about slavery and maps and direction and just communicating through nature. So that, the story really resonated for me in that way. Yeah, we started writing.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that, because as soon as you said language, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And it just kind of came back to me. Yeah. I'm going to share with with my audience more about Islan's story, because I edited a whole video about it because I think it's important. But I know, Nia, I think you had said that you had connected with her family at one point. So yeah, how was that in terms of coming, and creating the piece, in terms of meeting them and talking with them about Islan's life?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I should just preface it by saying that, like, Linda and I, we really feel like we scoured everything. I mean, we read every single article. We brainstormed every single personal connection that either one of us might have. Like, we really, we had a lot of dead ends. We called people. We really, part of the idea of Girl Chronicles is that these folks are going to be remembered with the people who love them and hold them up, and also realize that moment changes your life. And sometimes what you need is not to do that. And that's something that you need to receive from us, from the community for you, right? So understanding that duality. So with Islan's family, I happened to know some folks that knew her brother, and was able to get in contact. And we had a really powerful, the first time we met, we had like a 3 or 4 hour long conversation down the street from the hospital where she died. And, they are also an artist. And so the hope moving forward is that they will be able to also contribute some writing, especially in the testimony section of the piece. All of the chronicles, part of that ceremonial aspect is that many of the pieces have testimonies where we don't know what will happen. Many of the pieces have blessings and other rituals kind of embedded inside of them. And so we're really hoping, and really I'm curious also, I'm approaching it with a question and with imagination and asking for guidance really from spirit around whether and how this can be a healing ceremony for this sibling who's carrying on her legacy, and so, yeah, it's been really wonderful because in our dealings so far, they have been really wanting that kind of a space. And so, we're really excited about moving forward with that relationship. It's just that everything is
I know.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel like there could be like a whole like hour and a half, 2 hours talking about the Chronicles. Like there's so much to unpack. And Nia, Linda, and I have been doing this work together for what, like 2 years now? 2 or more, right?
I think like 4 or 5 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
With the Chronicles?
The Chronicles. Well, how long ago was your
Chronicles? Oh, the Chronicles.
Yeah, just the Chronicles.
Oh, the Chronicles.
It's been about 3.
Like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We've been in it for like 5, like you said. Mm-hmm. So the piece that I didn't get to do, which I was really sad about, but I was at the Apollo, so I ain't that mad, was the Priestess of Twerk. So talk to us about the Priestess of Twerk, because y'all, yes, tell us about that.
You see how the energy just changed?
Oh, yes.
How what was starting like?
That's called the transition. That's the segue.
Priestess of Twerk to me is such a special piece. And Nia had reached out to me when this idea, I think, it came to you in a dream, and Nia wanted us to write the music together, and I was like, whoa, you want to talk about new experiences, so we did, and it was really challenging because I was actually coming out of doing the Fire This Time festival, and it was just like back to back, but I'm so happy that we did it, and it was the last production that I know that I think we did, before COVID, before quarantine, and that piece, that whole, the music, everything still really sits with me because it just rings so true to, I think, what's been happening. It just rings so true. It's like the energy of Priestess of Twerk. It almost, I don't know, it felt like it just started happening, like it just started feeling it in other places.
So tell us about it, because folks don't know, what is it? What's the Priestess of Twerk? Who is she? What,
So the premise really of Priestess of Twerk is like, what would it look like to have a temple or a world, a temple as a model of a world that centered Black women, and Black women and femme energy. What could that be? What could that look like? And it's in development for the next really 3 to 5 years. And so this was the first iteration of that imagining. And one of the things that we did in this one, I'm really inspired by the story of Inanna, and I'm also really inspired by the story who's an ancient goddess from the Middle East, North Africa. Terms are problematic. The Swana region, I should say. And also by the story of Isis and her twin sister, Nephthys, with origins in Egypt. And so I kind of mashed up those stories, those two mythologies, to really ask what is the journey that we need to go through as Black women in order to arrive at our most liberated selves. And so that becomes Inanna's journey, / Isis's journey to meet Nephthys. And so I embodied Isis, Linda embodied Nephthys, and we really took the people on a journey.
Yeah. It was a journey into the underworld, and I remember when we were creating the writing and developing the music, I remember the conversations we were having were around using the darkness as a place of healing, and I think that also really sticks out to me, especially with everything that followed after, and the abolishment of patriarchy really sticks out to to me. You know, I remember when we were writing, you know, and thinking about those ideas of what it means to live in a world that's feminine of center, you know, and that sensuality and that everything that we explored, even in the movement, the journey that you, Ty, shout out to Ty Thomas and Sinead.
Yeah.
You know, you're really open.
Yeah, shout out to all the priestesses. Thank you, Linda. Shout out to all the priestesses of twerk, okay? Because y'all twerked.
Yeah. And it was really the energy, and I never forget. It was actually Malika from what is the name of the radio show? I can't remember it off the top of my head. Hello, Malika, if you're out there. But she said it was that thing that folks needed that they didn't know they needed. Yeah.
Well, that always seems to be the case in a Nia Witherspoon production.
Yeah.
Always.
It's usually because it's the thing that I need, actually.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's really literally that. It's like, I need to see this, I need to embody this, I need to experience this. And then obviously, like, we're all connected. We're all family, as the sister said, right? And so how can our needs line up? And also it's a learning journey. Like, what happens when our needs don't align, and how do we move through that as a community? All of that comes up. So we end on a cliffhanger. Isis is reaching out her hand finally for Nephthys, and Nephthys is reaching out her hand for Isis, and the lights go out, you know? And so it really is this moment of, what we did, I think, was the beginning. Like, what we did was the intro to Priestess.
Right.
Because
how
those sisters is what they go through together, and it's what they find in each other that they didn't know they needed. You know, because when Black women heal ourselves and each other, we have a new world, you know, frankly. So, and that really is, if any, instead of my bio, that's really all of my work. That's everything. And that is of this moment. I think, Linda, you're right, that it's prescient of this moment, because never before have we had a Black liberation movement that is, to the extent that it is, also centering women and folks.
Yeah, we're definitely in something very different right now.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to people, as much as we are, you know, in this global pandemic, it's kind of driving people crazy, but it is this global pandemic. I think that was the thing that really got us to be able to be still so that we could do this other work. Because if that hadn't been happening, then the rest of the stuff would not have happened. You know, nobody would have been still enough to really, you know, turn the mirror on themselves, you know? So yeah, it's quite the time. But speaking of time, I can't believe we're out of time. I feel like, okay, we're gonna have to do like part 2. Part 3.
I know, we just started talking.
I know. Because there's so much I didn't get into, like any of like Linda's stuff. I didn't get into any of it, but like we're at time, and I haven't even like done all the things that I want to do for the rest of my show. It's crazy. But this I do want to say. I know Nia, you talked about you were working on a book, so I just want you to say quickly the name of the book and so people can have an idea of what that's coming. Yes.
It's called Nation in the Dark, a Black Femme Spell for Justice.
Yeah. See, that's enough. As I said, get into it.
As you see, I have the same thing circulate. I mean, it's all of this, right? But like really, and if talking about the mirror and stillness and slowness, it's really like all of this fleshed out, right?
Absolutely.
That we're circulating inside of.
And Linda, I know you're working on music, or you have music out there in the world. So tell us what's up with that. Yes.
Everything is finally going on streaming platforms. So if you want to find my spoken word, a few spoken word tracks for now on Spotify or iTunes or Amazon or anywhere, it should be there. I am in the process of flushing out this full album, this full project. It still feels really weird to talk about. But it's coming into fruition. Mixing and master.
Spoken like a true musician.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
But, I think it's going to be great. I think especially for the TGNC community, especially in light of the many deaths that have happened over this past year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I will be definitely, like I said, every week I'm here every week. So every week I'm going to be highlighting another sister that we have lost. So as many names as I can get in, as many folks as I can get in from now until I decide the show is done. I'm going to be shouting us out because we don't get enough, light. And, now that we are we are part of the light, we need to just definitely, continue to say their names. Yeah. I love y'all so much.
Love you so much.
And I wish we had so much more time, but we will, because we're going to do part 2. We're going to do part 2, part 3, part 7. It's going to happen.
I love it.
And for all y'all out there who are watching, I have all their information in the descriptions of things, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are, websites, IGs, all that. Follow these women, know their work. If you don't know it, get to know it. Honestly, like my sisters, I love y'all so much. And to this day, I always say that Linda deserves like the Hood Academy Award for her performance in Messiah and submission. Listen, that's a whole other story. And we will get into that.
Working with y'all. I miss you so much.
Listen, you earned all my respect. All my respect. I love y'all so much. I'm going to say goodnight because I have a couple more things to do before I sign off. Be safe.
Thank you, Shelley.
Can't wait to see you again in person and hug you.
Yes.
Bye. Can you tell my sisters? I love them so much. So, we're at 9:00. I can't believe it. Okay, if y'all can hang on just a few more moments, I'm gonna because we talked so much about Islan. I really wanted to share about her life, so I have my candle to light for our sister. I'm gonna play a short video about Islan and her story so that you could know. And even though she has well, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm just going to let you watch the video and then you can see for yourself. Here we go.
Islan was Islan was to me Model-esque, very sweet, very kind. That's how she was to me.
Alani Houston knew her friend Islan Nettles from New York's Vogue and ballroom scene. The competition started decades ago as a much-needed escape from the realities of life.
An arrest tonight, 18 months after the hateful attack of a transgender woman in Harlem.
Islan Nettles was called names and then beaten. She died a few days later, but now a man faces manslaughter charges in her death.
James Dixon admitted to the police that he'd beaten Nettles to death. He said he'd been drinking that night and had just met her for the first time. The punches knocked Nettles over. She fractured her skull and her eye socket. At a hospital, she was declared brain dead, and days later, she was taken off life support.
To me, it just sounded like it was something that he just came up with, Or maybe you did know she was trans, and maybe you did like her, and maybe you just didn't like the fact that your buddies didn't think that that was cool. You'll have a lot of straight men that'll fetishize trans women and want to have sex with them and want to do these things behind the scenes or late at night or behind closed doors.
Dixon wasn't charged with a hate crime,
it's not going to happen again.
though Islan's mother campaigned unsuccessfully for that.
Sure, that does not happen again. You understand me? I want justice.
Instead, he carved out a deal with prosecutors. pleading guilty to manslaughter for a sentence of 12 years, rather than the recommended 17, thanks to a legal strategy called the gay and trans panic defense.
What is the trans panic defense?
It's when a jury is asked to find that the gender or sexual orientation of a victim is the cause for their assault, including their murder. It is not a standalone legal defense, but it's used with other defenses at trial. And it's not a complete bar to criminal liability, but it's used as part of the story that the defendant is telling at trial to explain their actions. In these cases, people are assaulted, they're murdered, and their assailant then gets to say, I lost control because of you. I committed these heinous acts because of who you are intrinsically. We don't have this defense for cisgender people or heterosexual people. We don't say, oh, your heterosexuality made me kill you.
Critics of the gay and trans panic defense say it lets defendants like Dixon change their stories and manipulate the facts to escape accountability. But Dixon is one of the last New Yorkers to actually use it. The state banned it last month.
This bill is dedicated to the memory of Matthew Shepard and Islan Nettles, two proud members of the LGBT community who were murdered and whose sexual orientation and gender identity and expression was used against them. I vote aye.
Someone being trans doesn't excuse you from murdering someone. You know, like you're taking someone's life. Like, this is a human being.
What's the music? Ladies and gentlemen, let it be known this category is an epic category here at the Latex Ball.
Every girl that hits the floor tonight wants to win. Every girl that hits the floor tonight wants to make a moment, but it's like, I think that there's a lot of lovely girls that don't know that they're lovely. Us as trans women are oftentimes told what is wrong with us opposed to what's right. And we hear it a lot from family or friends or even other trans women, you know. What's wrong with you? What don't you have? Or, you know, instead of embracing what you do have and what's right about you.
So we're gonna light a candle for our sister Islan on this full moon in Pisces. I had a whole lot of other things to share tonight, but clearly, like I was saying to Nia and Linda, it's gonna require, you know, a part 2, a part 3, a part 7. But let us not forget our trans sisters. And as Linda said, there's a lot of other names, in this short period of time, during this time that we've been out in these streets protesting, there's been lots of other trans women have also been killed in this time. So let us not forget them. I feel like this time is really calling us to love. It's really calling us to love. I know that people are feeling kind of scared and unsure at this time, but I really feel like this time is calling us to love. I think a lot of times we feel like, you know, the dark side of things is what's taking over but I think if you really bring yourself to that love space and turn your light on, you'll see that there's a whole lot of other light on. So yeah, turn your light on. Thanks for being here tonight. I can't believe it. The hour always goes so fast. It goes so fast. I'm going to move the candle over here. I just want to shout out again my guests, Nia Witherspoon and Linda LaBeija. If you're interested in their work, again, I believe all their information is in the description. You can find it there. Please don't forget to, let's see, I'm going to do my things here. Subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow me on IG and Twitter at Punanny Politixxx. So please subscribe, especially to the YouTube channel, because, you know, the YouTube thing, if we can get the numbers up, then a girl can, you know, do some other fun, amazing things on YouTube. So just go there, click subscribe. It's not going to, you know, cost you anything. It's not going to hurt any of that. So click subscribe and, you know, subscribe to the channel and follow me on IG. And our guest next week. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'll be back next week. So the guest next week, Kat Dyson. I'm so excited. Kat Dyson's gonna be here next week. If you're not sure who Kat Dyson is, she is the guitarist. Like, you just need to know. She's a guitarist extraordinaire. Work with Prince, work with Cyndi Lauper. I mean, I don't know. Look, honestly, like, I could just stop at Prince, right? But I know Kat. I love Kat. She's somebody that you should know. She should be your guitar hero. So we're going to have Kat Dyson here next week. So make sure you tune in next week. And yeah, I think that's our show. I can't believe it. So good night. And I think I have to leave you with a Wakanda Forever. I think I have to leave you with that. Good night, y'all.